Hi, everybody. I'm programmer Chris Metzler with SF Indie Fest. We're now celebrating 24 years of kind of bringing some of the most interesting and eclectic films from around the world to the Bay Area. Um, Obviously, things are a little bit weird this year, as they have been the last year and a half. We're presenting a hybrid festival, but we're lucky enough to have the director of the really wonderful film Cat Daddies you just saw, Mai Hong. Welcome, Mai. How are you doing?
Hi, great. Thanks, Chris.
Well, I have to be honest, is that when this film first came across my desk, I was like, I've kind of put it first in the queue. I was like, any film with the name Cat Daddies. I didn't have any context at all. I was just like, I need to see this film. It has such a great hook, and then you just tell some really wonderful stories. But with this sort of film, is this kind of an idea that's been percolating in your head for a while, or what made you kind of pull the trigger and go down this rabbit hole?
Well, it's funny, as you know, I've made short films, narratives with cats, as like it's usually like commissioned for branded content. And I kind of enjoyed how they turned out, but cats are so hard to work with. Every time I make one, I'm like, this is the last one. Can't do this anymore. So for years, I didn't really think about doing any more. Then one year I had the idea because I just became obsessed with hashtag cat dads and just all this content on the internet that was coming out and stories about, men who love cats. There's books, there's all kinds of articles out there. And I thought, it kind of like be cool to have like a documentary to go with that. I love seeing cat content, but even more, I love seeing it on the big screen. And, there's some cats that I was already following, like Gold Kitty, Nathan the Cat Lady. And I just thought, like, how cool would it be if we could sort of just immortalize them on film, and just see them on the big screen. So this idea was running in my head. At the same time, my husband, who was never a cat guy. Never, never. When we first dated, he was not, he was fine with my cats, but not really interested until one day a cat found him. Very special cat adopted him, and they just became best buds, and he just became a cat guy. And it made me think, like, I wonder how many men don't know that they could have a bond with a cat, just like my husband. I mean, you just would have never guessed. And so this just opened up so many ideas of doing this kind of film that could help change some of the stigma around it, and maybe encourage some more men to think of cats as a pet, because I think men are so conditioned to love, dogs. That's just how they're brought up, right? So yeah, I'm just trying to change that. And also, when I first started this project, I was interested in kind of looking at like the topics of masculinity and our gender roles and all that. And then the movie, because of COVID, I think became something really, really different.
Yeah, it's interesting how the kind of just this question turns in. Not to have my second question be so serious, because I think you've made a really kind of thoughtful and it's a fun film. But like, where do you think that these kind of gender roles kind of come from? Because I mean, to be honest, like I've always loved cats, but I even see this in I have a 5-year-old daughter, and it's just like she's like, oh well, she loves cats, but she's like, oh daddy, you're supposed to love dogs. It's just like, where it's just like, where does this all come from? Whereas, you know, I even see this sometimes in Friends, where they're like, if you go visit another friend's house and they happen to have cats, it's just more of like, oh well, the cat's not for me, and it's just like, well, if you just spent a few minutes, you might kind of, if I so why do you think there's these kind of gender roles that kind of have gotten us assigned with animals? And what is it that you think kind of changed your kind of husband's kind of take on things, or even some of the other characters in the film, in the sense of like, were many of them surprised by the kind of deep relationship they're able to kind of bond with?
I think it's a lot of different reasons, but the main ones I'd point out are that I think dogs are more represented on TV, film, childhood stories and all that. And I think it's because dogs are a little bit easier to train, right? Cats are a little harder to work with. So if you know, they're not going to get cast as easily as a dog would.
Mm.
So I think on TV and whatnot, we see a lot of like the family has a dog, and I think a lot of that is because it's really hard to capture a cat on camera. I mean, they do everything that they can to not be a part of it. They'll turn their back to the camera like they know, and you know, and they're a little more difficult to train. I think that's a lot of it. It's just like the images we've already grown up with. I think also um, we see dogs on the street all the time. We see people walking their dogs. We see dog parks. I mean, we kind of see them in the public view, whereas we don't really see the cat. The cats are, you know, most cats aren't super social and friendly to strangers, and so most of the time we're not seeing that private relationship
Mm.
between, you know, cat owners and their cat. We really don't. I think that's changing now with the types of cameras we have, and also the explosion of cat content on the internet. We're seeing it more and more because people can capture that, right, in the privacy of their home. Whereas that wasn't really available before. And so we only really saw, you know, what dogs were like. And we just had this, you know, inaccurate kind of perception of what a cat is. Like the firemen in the film, they had no idea that you could have such loyalty in a cat, and that the cat, you know, would be such a fun part of their lives.
No, it very much makes sense. I mean, obviously, what we see in the media portrayed is often, influences so many of us, and at least if, at the very least, subtle ways. As a filmmaker, how did you kind of approach how you wanted to kind of create the kind of aesthetic of this film? In the sense of like, did you kind of treat it as more observational? Was there, kind of a kind of certain vibe or flavor that you were wanting to go for when you're capturing each of these stories? And was there something different about making a documentary involving cats versus the kind of more, short films in the way that you kind of approached capturing these stories?
I wanted it to pretty open-minded. I can say in the beginning when I was kind of pitching it to people that I was kind of describing it as like chef's table, but with cats. So you're really learning about like the lives of the men, and just really about the relationships and the strong bond that they have. Um, Capturing it in a lot of slow motion and a lot of close-ups, just a lot of just trying to capture some of that kind of intimacy. So that's kind of how I wanted to go about it. It's interesting. I don't know if this could have been captured like 5-10 years ago, but now
Mm.
the cameras are so light and so good that we could do it, because you have to go in with a pretty slim crew, because you don't want to stress the cats out. So you don't want to bring in like a lot of lights and a lot of strangers. So we really had to do it in a sparse way and low footprint. So that was kind of what I just wanted to capture, like as much verite as possible, but also just capturing their stories and just capturing a lot of just, it was really important to me we get a lot of great cat footage. Like we get we get up real close, and we try to show, like, I think they're sentient beings, and I wanted to capture that. I don't think that a lot, it takes a lot of patience to do that. And I think that most of the time when you see them on camera, or on, movies and TV, you just don't really see that come
Yeah.
across.
Do you think, so in the kind of, the stories that you share in the film, how did you, like, for lack of a better word, like what was the casting process like, I guess, in the sense of like, what were you looking for in these stories and how they work together? I mean, were there folks that you spent time with that just didn't make it into the final film?
Yeah, so there's so many factors, because originally I wanted this to be international. So we had trips planned, already booked, uh, you know, for like March, 2020, April 2020. So some of the casting changed because of that. But initially it started out with some of the cat dads I was already following on Instagram. And I wanted a good mix. I wanted a geographical mix. I wanted some diversity. I wanted different environments. I wanted each cat dad to look and feel distinctly different.
Mm.
And I wanted everyone to have a different occupation if possible. So I didn't want everybody to be an actor. I didn't want everybody to be, a software engineer. I wanted everyone to feel different. And I wanted the cats to be different. So we couldn't have we have a couple of tuxedos like Gold Kitty, but I didn't want them to all be tuxedos. So I also had to choose, also pick and choose between like cats that look different because they don't want them all to be same. I always knew I wanted it to be colorful and, as colorful and vibrant as possible. I needed like a few kind of outdoor kitties, adventure kitties, so we can get outdoors and not always be stuck in someone's apartment or something like that. So I just wanted that whole mix. And there are some areas of the country that I didn't get to, and partially that was because of the pandemic situation, but try to diversify as much as possible. Since some things weren't working out, we decided to stay with David's story in New York a little longer. And so that worked out pretty well.
Yeah, well, I just think it came together in a really nice way. And it's funny you mentioned the chef table. It's like, it's like, oh yeah, I could totally see this turning into a series of some sort, and I hope, as our kind of audience get a chance to, obviously there's kind of people who already love cats that would love to come check into the film. But I just think with the title and the story is that there's just kind of an eclectic factor of people are just like, okay, what in the world is this movie about? And hopefully they'll become away with kind of a better understanding of the felines out there in the world. After going through this, making this film, do you think you'll make other cat short films now, or is this kind of the exclamation point on the cat filmmaking career?
I want to see where this goes. If this opens any more doors, I'd love to do it. People have asked if I'm interested in a sequel. Like, sure, if somebody wants to, fund that, then I'll do whatever. I would love to do to spin this off into like Cat Daddies UK, Cat Daddies Australia, Cat Daddies, Japan. Because I did my original intention was to make it more international.
Right.
So if there's a world where that can happen in the future, maybe we could do something like that. I'm also interested in finding that truck driver with a donkey. I'm kind of also interested in seeing if he really exists, as they talk about in the movie. But yeah, I'm open. I think I'm interested in doing any kind of. I really love doing this work for the animals, and I love that all the things that we can do with this.
Yeah, I like it how it just kind of it changed. It's a way to kind of enter a world with kind of a different perspective on things, So as we wrap up, one of the things I always kind of remind our audience about is that we film festivals are lucky enough that filmmakers like you share your films with us, and so us, the first people to get a chance to see the films, are kind of like the street team for you all. What's the kind of best way to kind of continue to track the film and your career, but also kind of help spread the word?
Yeah, definitely we're on all social media at Cat Daddies Movie, very easy to find. We have a website that has a schedule. So if you see something pops up in a city and a friend, tell them what it's about, tell them to come out. We have like a photo contest. So if you come to our in-person screenings, or you can also buy these on our website. We have these bandanas that says Daddy loves me. You can put it on your cat, and then tag us, and we're giving people a DVD of the movie when it comes out, if they put this on their cat and tag us in the photo. And people have been doing it. It's been fun for me to see. And we always reshare that on our social media. There's a lot of people who are, I call it the like the bandana challenge. So so we're just doing fun things like that to keep spreading the word and just trying to make it fun. I like going to the in-person screenings. Part of the reason why I made this movie is to bring the cat community together. And it's a lot of fun when you see this with like other cat lovers, all the oohs and ahs over the cute kitties. So yeah.
Yeah, it definitely seems like a very communal environment. Hopefully, we'll get a chance to see some of those folks there at the Roxy. And thanks again, Mai, for making such a wonderful film.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.